Yo, what up you guys, MxgicIQ here, and today I'm coming at you guys with part 2 of the best cars for the Grand Race. Now, I had to put in a little bit of testing to get some pro tunes down for some cars, but just so you guys know, all these pro settings are adjustable, and I'm constantly adjusting them as well. Consider them all base maps and works in progress. Honestly, it just depends on the race that the cars feel better or worse with certain setups, especially when you're messing with the stiffness and the softness of the suspension, because sometimes I actually like the cars in rally to be a little bit softer sometimes, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with where every car is at right now. You guys can adjust it to your own liking and personal driving style. We're going to start off with rally, okay? I made a video on this car yesterday. I believe this is at the #1 spot for me personally, but then again, everybody has their own personal opinion. Another tough contender for the #1 spot would be the C3 Citroen. We're going to scroll over the pro settings real quick, but I have a whole video on this car breaking everything down, so if you guys want to go ahead and check that out, link will be down below in the description. Alrighty, getting into the other cars in this list for rally, definitely obviously the C3 Citroen, a very good car in this playlist. Doesn't excel too much in the top speed area, but the turning and capabilities of this thing in the corners is just very good, very consistent. It's also very quick as well, and it's also a very easy car to drive. I really enjoy driving it as well. As you guys saw, the power distribution was 30%, spring front is +2, spring rear is +6, damper compression front is -2, damper compression rear is +4, -5 for damper rebound front, +10 for damper rebound rear. Anti-roll bars are at 8 and 8. Camber front is at 0.18 negative, and camber rear is at 0.13 negative as well. This car is very good. If you guys want to check it out, a lot of people think it's the best car in the class. I like the GT3 RS, but you guys can try this thing out. It's very good as well. Now for the #3 spot, I honestly have a little bit of a tie here. I have the Ford Fiesta, which I'm going to show you these pro settings right now. 25% power distribution, and at any other point, you guys can just pause and take a look at these numbers. We have spring front, rear, damper compression, everything in the suspension has been adjusted. If you guys want to pause that right there and take a look at that and copy that down. ARB has not been adjusted at all, and neither has the alignment on this build, okay? These pro settings were from a video that Rhino the Raccoon made for the American Dust Summit, and I really like the way this car drives, but it just doesn't seem as consistent to me as the Lancer. And as I mentioned previously, the Lancer is probably my tie with the Fiesta. Honestly, might even be a little bit more consistent than the Fiesta. And here are the pro settings that I use on it. This is tuned by Rhino as well. Big shout out to Rhino. 30% power distribution. Everything else here, you guys can just pause and then screenshot and go and adjust it and put it on your vehicle. But we have a pretty stiff suspension setup here. It really does work though. The ARBs are also all the way to the right, and the cambers are also all the way to the left as well. So you guys can just pause right there on the suspension settings, go ahead and screenshot that, put that on your build, and get moving in this thing. This thing hawks in the straight lines like crazy. As you've seen, I've driven it for almost 600 miles. I do enjoy the car. It's probably my second place car over the GT3 RS in terms of what I use. The Citroen is better. There are other cars in the rally class that might be better than this thing. I just personally use this as my second option because it fits my driving style better than the other cars. Those are the two cars I have kind of fighting for the 4th or 3rd best, depending on what you guys think or have any opinions on. Let me know what you guys have been using in rally as well. I've seen some shouts for the Nissan R34. I haven't really went up against any, and personally, I've never struggled against that Ford Focus RS RX Glow Edition either. Another car that I would say is pretty good that I've seen rip around, and it's low key. I'm tuning it, and I'm going to come out with a video on it soon, you guys. I don't want to reveal it right now, so just consider this one coming soon. The Cooper S Countryman All-4 is amazing in rally. It's very good. The same guy that smacked me with the Ford F-150 slapped me with this thing as well, and I honestly have been learning a lot of the little meta cars, just running into people here and there using different stuff, and honestly, this is one of those cars that really impressed me. So expect a video on this thing in the coming days, as well as the Lotus Exige S. No specific crazy pro settings on it yet, but I'm rather okay with how the car is set up. So you guys saw 30% power distribution, +5, +10 on damper rebound front and damper rebound rear. ARB is maxed out, and camber is all the way to the left, negative and negative, okay? This thing drives pretty well. I just didn't see it as a standout vehicle to me. A lot of people like this car, so I figured I'd put it in here as well, but I just personally don't use it that much and don't find much success with it as much as the other cars. Obviously, it's a great car and you can compete, and it's all about the driver, but I just didn't like the way the car felt. The GT3 RS for me in the rally category just completely outdoes all these other cars for my personal driving style. This game is very driver based more or less than car based, so make sure you guys are comfortable with the vehicle you're using regardless of what it is. Since it's right here, I'm just going to give the monster trucks the shout over real quick. The Silverado 1500 is pretty much, in my opinion, the most dominant monster truck, at least in the grand race. This thing is super good. It was also, I believe, the better one in the Summit as well when it was used for the monster category. This thing actually handles pretty well, and I actually enjoy the monster truck races in the grand race. I guess contrary to popular opinion, I actually really like the Monster Rally and Rally Raid category races. They actually are kind of fun, and trying to get through the water and the rally cars in that race is pretty fun too, to try and figure out the quickest ways to get up on the side of the riverbank and get to the next checkpoint as quickly as possible. But for the pro settings on this thing, the ARB is just maxed out all the way to the right, 10 and 10, and the camber is just all the way to the left, -25, -25. That is pretty much a base tune you guys can put on any car. I put that on this. The monster trucks don't really need that much adjusting, honestly, and it feels really good. It feels really consistent. Rhino was using this in the American Dust Summit in the same video as he shouted the Ford Fiesta out, and that's where I got those two tunes from. So big shout out to him. I'm pretty sure he's going to be posting the new Summit that just came out rather soon on his channel, so make sure you guys go check him out. He's linked down below in the description as well. He is your go-to guy for Summit content, tutorials on what cars to use, and how to do all the events and get the most points possible. Okay, so make sure you guys go check him out ASAP. Now, in terms of other monster trucks to use, I've heard the R34 is a good shout, as well as the Camaro SS, as it's the base car they give you, and not really many people buy monster trucks or anything like that. The Silverado, I just think by far is my go-to, and I don't even really suggest anything else, but I've seen people use the R34 and heard about that as well. Now, when it comes to planes, only thing I've heard about in terms of planes is the Spitfire, and I believe it was the P-51 Mustang. Me personally, anytime I see planes in the playlist, I skip it. So if you guys want some plane content, I guess you guys might have to find somebody that tunes the planes. Me personally, I just skip anytime these are in the playlist. But the P-51 and the Spitfire do absolutely move, and I haven't really had any trouble with anything else really flying away from me in the few times I've done the racing playlist for the planes. So make sure you guys go ahead and pick up a P-51 or a Spitfire to get around the map quickly if you guys haven't unlocked fast travel. They're good looking planes. P-51s are probably some of my favorite planes of all time, as well as the Spitfire. I used to be really into games like War Thunder and old Battlefield games and flying and stuff like that. I just really enjoy aerial combat, so I'm kind of a geek when it comes to these kind of things. So if you guys enjoy these planes aesthetically, might as well pick them up anyway, right? And if you ever for some reason feel like doing the grand race with the planes, you guys can go ahead and do that and find success with these planes as well. Now, getting into Rally Raid, a very competitive class as well. The #1 car that most people recommend is probably the Z4 S-Drive 35IS, which I made a video on a little while ago, so I'm going to just skim through these pro settings while talking about it. Now, unlike most other BMWs in the game, at least from what I've tested so far, this BMW feels really light on its toes and very agile, and does take shortcuts very well, like that SimG inspired shortcut where you guys go over the left side of that one checkpoint and then bounce over a wall. I'll put a link down below in the description to his little short showing that shortcut. Me personally, I've done it every single time since I've seen that video, and people just can't keep up with it. Again, like I said, I just skimmed over the pro settings real quick. I do have a full video breaking down this car, though. If you guys want to go and check that out, it'll be linked down below in the description as well. This thing is my go-to car for Rally Raid if I want to actually try and win. Usually, this thing outdoes every other car, in my opinion, by a lot, but a second shout that I do want to say seems almost as quick, if not maybe a little quicker in certain areas, than the Z4 is the Skyline GTR R34. This thing is insanely fast. I've been using this thing recently and really enjoying my grand races with it. I have actually yet to throw any pro settings on this thing, and it feels completely perfect as is. Honestly, some of these cars, guys, you do not have to mess with. Sometimes you don't even need pro settings at all, and this is one of those cars that I just personally haven't adjusted much. If you guys want to try and stiffen up the anti-roll bars and lower the camber, you guys can go ahead and do that, but I really like how this car feels without any pro settings on it at all. Now, not in any particular order that these cars are in, but the third car I want to give a shout to in the Rally Raid class is the Wrangler Evo 2. A lot of people have been using this thing, and I went and tried it out myself. I personally think the other two cars I mentioned before this are a little bit quicker, but this thing does do the best in the water. If you guys get any water sections of the track, this thing's gonna absolutely truck through it with ease. It's a very, very good vehicle to drive. Even if there's not water though, this thing is pretty much so as consistent as the other vehicles in the class, and does keep up with those meta quote unquote cars, being the R34, the Z4 as well. I also have shouts for the GTO being very, very fast in a straight line, but there's just been a lot of corners in the Grand Race, and even though that thing is an absolute blast to drive, I've just been having so much more success with the R34 and the Z4, as well as this Wrangler Evo 2. But I do want to give the GTO a shout after this, which I have a full video breakdown on. But a newly tuned vehicle for the channel will be this Wrangler Evo 2. Now, me personally, I have the power distribution at 35%. This tune is a work in progress, but I'm sharing it with you guys anyway, because I know you guys like to take these base maps and basically adjust them for yourself anyway. +4 on the spring front, +6 on the spring rear. Damper compression and front and rear have both been adjusted to +2. Damper rebound front is -6. Damper rebound rear is +4. ARB front and rear are both at +10. Camber for the front is -0.25, and camber for the rear is -0.20. This thing drives very, very well. I much so enjoy it. You guys should go and check it out as well. It's a decent car for the class. Now, another car I wanted to give a shout out to, besides the Pontiac GTO, which if you guys want to check out, I have a link down below in the description to a build for this vehicle. It is very, very good in a straight line and absolutely hawks in single player. This MX-5 Miata NA Spearhog edition. I don't know if you were able to get this if you didn't get it in the Motor Pass, but for you guys that have it in the Motor Pass, this thing is very, very good with no tune as well. I believe I adjusted the ARB and the camber just slightly, but this thing is a very, very good shout for this playlist as well. Alrighty guys, now getting into motocross. The only motocross vehicle I have even basically purchased is the 450 EXC Nighthawk edition. Now personally, I've never been completely gapped or completely gapped anybody in the motocross section of the race. Even the rental bike that everybody uses is pretty decent as well, but this thing does seem to handle a little bit better, and I choose it over the rental bike every time. So if you guys want to go ahead and check this thing out, please do. It's a great vehicle. It's a great bike. It works very well. Now, lastly, and probably the least, honestly, is the drift class. Now, for the second place, I'd probably say the 458 Speciale, and I obviously haven't picked it up because I don't care to purchase $1 million cars to do drift events. Like I said, if there's a drift event, I'm usually skipping it, or I'm just using my Mustang and trolling around, okay? The Agera R is another vehicle for the drift playlist that is very, very good, and another shout is the Lamborghini Murcielago as well as the Aventador. Pretty much any hypercar drift car is going to give you success in the drift car playlist, but honestly, I haven't had a problem keeping up in my inferior drift cars. That would be the, I believe the Nissan Skyline R34 has been pretty decent for me, as well as the 2015 Mustang Fastback has been pretty good as well. So these two vehicles are the only vehicles I've been using for the Grand Race, not adjusted at all in the pro settings because I wouldn't even know what to do to make the car less oversteery, honestly. This thing though actually doesn't oversteer that much and feels pretty good. So if you're going to use any of the drift cars that weren't a hypercar, I suggest this one. You can dang near grip race with this car. Okay, so turn your counter steer assist off for it though, because if you don't have counter steer assist off, then you can't really take advantage of the fact that this is an all-wheel drive car, and it feels like it'll just kick out and start counter steering for you and feel a little weird. So I really like driving this thing in the drift if I have to. Usually I do skip the playlist though, as guilty as served. So that has been part 2 of the list, you guys. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in throughout this entire list. Part 1 will be linked down below in the description if you guys missed it. I don't think I missed any categories, but yeah, personally, I'm always skipping drift or the planes if they're ever in a playlist. I thought they were going to add some more Grand Race playlists. Hopefully they will soon. I'm very happy with the content update though. I will have a video on those cars that are new to the update, more in depth, trying to actually tune them per their classes soon. The new content is out, 2 new cars, a new summit. You got all your legend points from the last overall legend score or legend level, so that's pretty cool. Now all the times are going to be faster. Everything's just evolving, so it's nice to see this game at a consistent rate already evolving better than other racing games that have come out prior to its release. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's MxgicIQ, and I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.